The San Francisco 49ers quarterbacks are back in the news courtesy of Adam Schefter, who went on the Pat McAfee show and had a whole lot to say about Trey Lance potential trade rumors, Sam Darnold winning quarterback 2 competition, who the starter is going to be, even Mac Jones. In 2023, we're talking about Mac Jones still, courtesy of Adam Schefter. Uh, NFL Insider, we're going to react. We're going to react. That's what today is. We all have our opinions on the 49ers quarterback situation and who we think is the best and who's going to win. But what we're going to do today is we're going to listen to what Adam had to say. And oh, yes, we are going to react to it all right after this. Make sure you smash that like button, drop a SDS in the chat. Let's see what Shefty had to say today, shall we? Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it. What is going down, SDS? Never a dull moment around these parts when you don't know who your quarterback's going to be. San Francisco 49ers heading into year 7 of the Kyle Shanahan regime, I guess you could say. And with so many questions at quarterback, they're constantly going to be talked about. We already know the San Francisco 49ers quarterback position is arguably one of the number one storylines heading into the NFL. If you ever are brave enough to tweet about one of these quarterbacks on Twitter, first of all, applaud you for your bravery. Because there's no ifs, ands, or buts. You are going to get sideswiped by someone who just, I wouldn't even say disagrees with you. It's just, they're just going to counter what you have to say about the quarterback position. So it's a fascinating time to be alive. The San Francisco 49ers quarterback, again, it's going to be something that will be discussed all the way throughout training camp. And it unfortunately takes our focus off of discussing other parts of the team, all that good stuff. But hey, at least what we can do today is we can listen, we can vibe, and we can make up our opinions for ourselves. Doesn't matter what we think, doesn't matter who you think is going to be the guy. We'll talk about it now. But it does, like, we got one guy saying Trey's going to be the guy. We got one guy saying dump Trey Lance. We're always going to be split down the middle until there's one guy. But one thing that we can say is that the SDS is never split, even if we don't agree, which we promote that here. We don't promote everyone having to have the same exact opinion. But what we do promote is being able to actually have a space to discuss said differences of opinions, because let's face it, you're not going to find that on Twitter. You're not going to find that on a lot of social media platforms. So hopefully what we can at least provide here in the chat for you guys that have opinions on the 49ers quarterback is you get to be able to share your opinion. We're going to agree. We're going to agree to disagree. And we just move forward. And that's how everything should work, but it's not how it goes. But let's face it. Let's take a listen to what Ian Rappaport, Adam Schefter has to say about the 49ers quarterback position. I'm going to start with the optimism surrounding Brock Purdy. So we'll start there, and then we'll kind of kick off today's updates about the quarterback from there, and we'll react. This is basically what we're doing. We're just going to react to what he had to say. Are we buying it? Are we not buying it? I'll let you be the judge. You let me know what you think in the comments, and we'll kick this off.
Shefty, do you have any idea what kind of the level of activity and throwing that Brock Purdy will have throughout training camp? Is he going to get much time in these preseason games? I know he's already throwing, but we don't know exactly like the velocity or what he can do.
It's all been charted and planned. Like they have a whole game plan for him, and I don't know the specific game plan for the summer. Whether I'm sure he won't be throwing every day. Like whatever the doctors have prescribed to them in terms of what is necessary for that recovery. But they're optimistic, but don't know that he'll be ready for opening day. But there's still a whole way to go. There's a whole plan that's in place. You know how these coaches plan out all their practices for all the training camp? Well, there's a Brock Purdy plan too, probably, right? Like you just lay it out. I don't know the specifics of it, but everything that he does is going to be closely monitored all summer long.
That's awesome to hear, and that's very, operandus modus operandi. That's modus operandi.
Yep.
That is standard operating procedure for pretty much everything. Physical therapists put together a plan. You're throwing 7 balls here. Yep. You're doing this here. You're doing this here. Has he checked all the boxes? We assume he has. They said everything's going
so far.
Good. Okay, good.
So far.
Hey, everybody, that's pretty good. Hey, that's pretty good.
Yeah, Purdy.
Okay, in that video, honestly, he really didn't say a whole lot. Basically, kind of like what McAfee was saying is like, okay, so basically every situation that we anticipated from here on out, right? But the next one I want to show, it's multiple layers. He's more definitive on his stance on where Brock Purdy is in regards to being available, but it's also wrapped around a discussion of if the San Francisco 49ers were actually going to trade Trey Lance, if those conversations occurred, if the market ever materialized. So we'll listen. He says a bunch in this particular one. So this one will be more of the breakdown that we'll react to this one.
Pac-Man has a question for you.
What up, Shefty? San Fran.
What's up, Pac?
What's up, man? San Fran, they still got the 3-head monsters with the quarterbacks. They say Purdy is ready to go. Do you think the younger boy will get traded before camp, or do you think they're going to stick with all 3 of them?
No, here's the thing. There really was never a lot of interest in Trey Lance for what they gave up and what they get back, which is not very much at all. It doesn't make sense to trade him. There was no trade market, and Kyle Shanahan has said that they didn't have any trade talks with teams. He's not going there. He's not going anywhere right now. He's there. Now, I will say this. Sam Darnold signed with the 49ers on the first day of free agency. And if there's a player signing with the team on the first day, that tells you that the team really liked that guy. And they really did like Sam Darnold. He was looking at a couple of different options. He chose the 49ers. But let's also be very clear that Brock Purdy, if he's healthy, he's the guy on opening day. He's the starting quarterback. He's the number one. If he's not, if for some reason he can't go, we'll see how Darnold and Trey Lance do in camp this summer. My guess would be Darnold has a chance to really shine and excel, but there's a lot of preseason football left for those two guys to distinguish themselves.
So Trey Lance never get on the field. We never get to see what he can do, really, because he only played 3 or 4 games.
In San Francisco, I would say this. I would think that, look, Brock Purdy is the one, if healthy. And I think going into camp, Sam Darnold, I think, has the edge going into camp. But by the way, Trey Lance could play great. He worked over the summer with Mahomes, and I heard he's made tremendous improvement. I'm anxious to see how much he's improved and whether he can make that jump. Let's see it.
So this one, all kinds of stuff going on here. So no trade talks, right? According to Schefter, basically nothing materialized. No, there's no interest.
Here's the thing. There really was never a lot of interest in Trey Lance.
So how do you determine if there was no interest in trading for Trey Lance? Would you have to ask those questions of, is Trey available? If he was available, would you be interested? How do you determine that there's no interest in trading for Trey if Trey was never floated or maybe discussed? I don't know. It's such an interesting climate right now for reporting news, right? Like this guy, as we are told by the NFL and everything else, is like the number one news breaker. Him, Rap Sheet, guys like that we're supposed to listen to that only speak facts, right? Like that's the way that it's packaged as that's the responsibility of a journalist and a reporter, right? Like speak facts, like facts only kind of a thing. But we're it's a muddied up situation because reporters do give thoughts that they're allowed to have their own thoughts and opinions on things, but I think the problem is those things get mixed up sometimes.
For what they gave up and what they get back, which is not very much at all, it doesn't make sense to trade. There was no trade market, and Kyle Shanahan has said that they didn't have any trade talks with teams. He's not going there. He's not going anywhere right now. He's there. Now, I will.
Okay, well, I guess that's good. That's one way to look at it, is that Trey isn't going to be traded. Apparently because there's no trade market and the 49ers aren't trying to trade him. So it's a win-win, I guess, for people who are fans of Trey Lance. One, no one wants to trade for him, and two, the 49ers don't want to trade him. So I guess that's a good thing, according to Adam Schefter. So it does appear that Trey Lance will be on the 49ers, right? That's the vibe that we are getting from Adam Schefter via this report, again, via the Pat McAfee show, all that type of stuff. So Trey Lance, right? Okay, Trey's going to be here to compete for quarterback 2. Well, I guess not so fast.
Sam Darnold signed with the 49ers on the first day of free agency. And if there's a player signing with the team on the first day, that tells you that the team really liked that guy. And they really did like Sam Darnold. He was looking at a couple of different options. He chose the 49ers. But let's also be very clear that Brock Purdy, if he's healthy, he's the guy on opening day. He's the starting quarterback. He's the number one. If he's not, if for some reason he can't go, we'll see how Darnold and Trey Lance do in camp this summer. My guess would be Darnold has a chance to really shine and excel, but there's a lot of preseason football left for those two guys to distinguish themselves.
So Trey Lance never get on the field. We never get to see what he can do, really.
I love the follow-up question by Pac-Man because I think you guys are in the same boat as me, where we're just inundated with reports, talking heads. I mean, we live in the era of content creation, and of course driving eyes, driving views, driving clicks. It's just the way of the world that we live in. But I think when we look at reporters, right, or people who have this information that we deem as valuable, how it's packaged is becoming to be interesting, and there's clearly trends, and you, like I, are tracking these trends. We're trying to make sense of them. Again, we all move like this around here, right? There's a reason why the tinfoil hat exists, is because we hear so many people talking that if we just went through our lives and just believed everything that we heard, we could be pushed down the wrong path. So the thing is that they keep, and it's not just Schefter. It's Greg Papa. It's Chris Sims. It's Matt Mayoko. There are a lot of people who are talking about Sam Darnold. And we know too, prior to Sam signing, that Kyle Shanahan likes Sam. The Shanahan clan, Mike Shanahan as well, they're on record, just they like Sam Darnold. They like the traits that he possesses. They like the fact that he's effectively a bigger, more athletic Brock Purdy from a physical standpoint. Now, where Sam struggles is he doesn't have the elite intangibles like Brock does from a processing standpoint, those kinds of things, but they clearly love the physical tools that Sam brings to the table, which we all understand. That's Sam's best attributes. Sam is a good thrower of the football. We know that. That's not a shock or surprise to anyone, but we also understand you need more than just to be a good thrower of the football to be successful in the NFL. And Brock and Sam are the perfect opposite sides of the spectrum of what that means. Like, Brock doesn't have the desired measurables, but Sam does. And so far, Brock looks like he's been the more successful just in the short time that he's had. So again, that's why evaluating quarterbacks, you can't just evaluate the physical tools. Of course, you want a quarterback who can throw it over a mountain. You want a quarterback who's tall and can see over his offensive line. You want a quarterback, but you also want a quarterback who's a good leader. You want a good quarterback who can process a playbook, process a defense pre and post snap, get the ball out on time. There's a whole other aspect to the mental processing side of it where I've always felt Sam has lacked. Obviously, Kyle believes that he can strip some of that away from Sam with his play calling. And I think Kyle, the way Kyle views it is that he sees that if Sam just does what is expected of him within the scheme, he can unlock Sam's ability. That's what I truly believe. That he thinks that the ability and the talent is there. If I can get him in my scheme, doing what I want him to do and not deviating from that, that's where Sam will find his success. That remains to be seen, but it seems to be the continuous conversation leading up until training camp. Again, we will only know when the pads start popping, and we'll really have a better idea of what that actually looks like. But I kind of like Pac-Man's follow-up question, because I think this is like how the fans feel like when they hear when the fans hear the oh yes, 100%. Welcome to peak off season. Shout out to Gang. Shout out to SDS. We are 100% in peak off season. We knew this was coming. And thank you for just hanging out. Thank you for just hanging out. But I like the question that Pac-Man asked because I think it's representative of how fans feel.
We get on the field. We never get to see what he can do, really, because he only played 3 or 4 games.
In San Francisco, I would say this. I would think that, look, Brock Purdy is the one, if healthy. And I think going into camp, Sam Darnold, I think, has the edge going into camp. But by the way, Trey Lance could play great. He worked over the summer with Mahomes, and I heard he's made tremendous improvement. I'm anxious to see how much he's improved and whether he can make that jump. Let's see it.
So, again, one of my takeaways from it all is there's a level of doubt, I think, about Trey Lance. I think there's just this overwhelming tidal wave of doubt that Trey can do it. That's just where I'm currently at with all the conversations, everything. I think we can boil it down to, whether you agree or disagree, somewhere, who knows where or who or what, it just feels like there is a cloud of doubt over Trey Lance and his ability. Who that is, whether it's fans, media, personnel, decision makers inside the building, I have no idea. It just feels like there's this cloud of doubt. There's just doubt that Trey can be better than Sam Darnold, right? Can be better than what Sam provides. And again, we know Sam, 25 years old. His issue isn't with talent. His issue isn't with being able to throw the football. Whereas, like with Trey, from what we've heard, there's kind of an issue with throwing the football. Like that's kind of what we've come to take away. Even of all these conversations with Trey, fixing his mechanics, working out, just like he said, working out with Christensen, working out with Mahomes, his mechanics are improving, all those types of things. It's year 3, right? Like Kyle Shanahan said it point blank at that event, the Dwight Clark event. He said, "You don't come into the NFL to learn how to throw." He said it point blank. He wasn't talking specifically about Trey at all. He was talking in a generality. It had nothing to do with Trey, nothing to do with Brock, nothing to do with Sam. He was just talking about just matter of fact, quarterback play coming into the NFL. And he straight up just said, you don't come into the NFL trying to learn how to throw. And unfortunately, that's where Trey is right now. He's still learning how to do the small things correctly, where Sam isn't doing that and where Brock isn't doing that. The thing is that we're trying to discern is really, can Sam fix the processing side of it? And with Brock, it's, can he heal correctly? So with Trey, it just continues to sound like there's a whole lot of doubt about what Trey is or what he can be. And again, as we're getting closer and closer to training camp, I'm viewing this from an evaluation perspective. Like I'm evaluating all the things that are being said, and I'm not letting it completely change how I think, because I have my own evaluations and I trust my evaluations, but also to taking my evaluations and then combining it with these talking points. And it's just like it basically just boils down to, I don't think there's not a lot of, I don't know if belief is there. We'll find out. Hopefully in training camp, there's something changes. But it just doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of belief right now that, Trey might even be able to take over Sam. So it's going to be interesting. Let's you guys want to relive the Mac Jones at 3 scenario?
Story is so fascinating, and obviously you're on top of all of it that draft day, like we potentially were as well, for that one time in the history of our entire show's existence. Them trading up, moving the future, trading up to 3, and then allegedly there being a little bit of a conflict between who wanted what and who wanted what.
I don't think that's right. I'm just telling you, they traded up. They traded up with the idea that they loved Mac Jones. Okay, that when they made that trade, they traded up with the idea that they were going to draft, with the idea that they're going to draft Mac Jones, while also having, I think it was 6 weeks to the draft, maybe a little less, a month or so, to look at the other prospects. And while they looked at the other prospects, they fell in love with the intangibles that Trey Lance demonstrated. He did testing and tested off the charts in terms of intelligence. They brought him in the building. The guy was ultra impressive. And even though they traded up with the idea of picking Mac Jones while doing their work, they became enamored with this guy and the upside that he had. And I think they felt like if they take Mac Jones, then their offense, which many teams run versions of and they copy what they do, will continue to be duplicated, but it would be harder to duplicate what they do with a guy like Trey Lance, who freelances and plays spontaneous football the way he does. And so in the end, they went for the guy with the bigger upside, a guy that had great intangibles, and they went for Trey Lance. But I'm telling you, when they made the deal, the motivation initially was Mac Jones.
Yeah, in their eyes, the bigger upside, which is fascinating. And I guess you could see how the narrative that they were split on that decision could come because somebody who might not have chatted with one side for like a couple months, like heard this person wanted Mac Jones. Like everybody's saying Shanahan wanted Mac Jones and Lynch wanted Trey Lance.
Yes.
And Lynch.
Well, let me say this. They could be split. They could have all these people. They could have all the people they want with all the opinions. In the end, Kyle Shanahan is the head coach. Kyle Shanahan, whoever he wants, I don't care what the voices say. If there are so many voices that present Trey Lance and they're so persuasive and he listens, then yes, that's what they'll do. But ultimately, every organization's got a lot of voices, but one guy in the end that makes the decision.
Oh, we're talking about Mac. It's 2023. And we're talking about Mac Jones still. Woo! That's how you know we are in a fun period of time covering the San Francisco 49ers that we're still discussing. Because again, if I think it's a multiple layered situation, right? Because it's like, well, okay, if they don't believe in Trey Lance, and it was between Mac Jones and Trey Lance, and they ultimately landed on Trey, like I saw some people tweeting about it. It's like they would have missed twice. Like, again, I think Mac Jones probably would have been a fine quarterback at 12. I don't think that's not crazy to think that he could have been a quarterback at 12. I mean, he was selected at 15, but trading I mean, Brock Purdy, in my opinion, is also kind of proving why you don't go after a quarterback like Mac Jones like early, because he's very limited physically. There's not a whole lot of upside. Even if he's considered to be a ready to go type prospect, there's not. You can find those guys later on. And I think Brock Purdy is kind of that perfect example of why that's the case. Like why why Sam shouldn't have been the quarterback, or not Sam. I'm getting all the quarterbacks mixed up now. Why Mac Jones shouldn't have been the pick at 3. Like I get it. They liked Mac Jones apparently. I could understand why they liked him for their offense, but it just doesn't have the upside. It doesn't have the upside. Let's see. EMA says, so Brad, you can't be working on throwing in year 3, Trey, with 4 starts, but you can be learning processing still after 50 plus NFL starts. Sam, are you saying that I said that, or are you genuinely asking me a question? If you're genuinely asking me a question, I think 2 things they're very different. I think physical mechanics are much different than working within a scheme and processing within a scheme. It's not really an apples to apples comparison. So when I think of mechanics, I think of I use this example all the time for me, and I can only relate it to me because of what I did and had to kind of work through as an offensive lineman. For me, learning how to kick step properly, which is being able to kick your foot back, keep your balance, keep your hips and keeping your shoulder squares to the line of scrimmage, not over, punching, being able to jet back inside and wash defensive linemen out who counter inside, being able to handle speed to the outside, and then being able to anchor when I am being bull rushed. That takes technique. That takes a lot of reps and practice. It took me an entire year to truly be comfortable executing a proper kick step in pass protection. So that, I think, is a kind of different scenario than being within a scheme that is suited to your strengths, suited to, and when you have it dialed in at a certain level, I think there's a different way of executing. And I think what you can also process, like from your perspective, is like if you've ever had a job in the same industry and they have two different ways of doing it, and in one location you can fit into that system and you can be successful in executing it, but when you go to another system, it just doesn't fit your strengths and you don't have the same level of success. Nothing has really changed with you, but again, it fits more into what works best for you. And so there's two different types, like working on drilling mechanics, at this stage in the game, I think is different than already being a elite thrower, but not having the proper processes, maybe not having the best coaching. I think it's just a different level. I don't think they're really comparable. It would be different if I think they were both having mechanical issues or they were both readjusting something. But I think it's harder, to adjust mechanically than it is to fit into a scheme, especially if the scheme is tailor made for what your strengths are. Does that make sense? Is that what am I answering your question? Um, let's see. Uh, you said that, my man. What did I say? No, I said Kyle said that. That's what I said. I said Kyle said that. I said that we were at that event, the Dwight Clark event, and Kyle Shanahan said you don't get into the league to learn how to throw. That's what I said. Now you've seen Trey throw the ball. He's not a ground zero passer. He's better than that. Now Sam has played 50 plus games and only has a few games in Carolina that were okay. Okay, what's the point? It's trying to see the point that we're getting to. I think we're having a misunderstanding, but that's all good. That typically happens with this quarterback conversation. That's why it's so fun, is because, hey, people have their own thoughts, feelings, and opinions on it, their own beliefs and what they think, and that's why this conversation is so difficult to have. like this from my perspective is just, I'm being objective, trying to trying to listen to what they're saying, trying to take in all the things, trying to take in everything that I've seen and add it together. Listen, when Kyle Shanahan says you don't come into the NFL to learn how to throw, and we're heading into year 3 and Trey is still working on that, what I'm saying is I'm quantifying why maybe there is a level of doubt surrounding Trey from their perspective. That's not my perspective. What I'm quantifying is their perspective. And if you're listening and understanding what I'm saying, then I think it would be easier to quantify, because that I'm not justifying my opinion. I am talking about taking in all this outside noise and being able to try to process it from a different perspective. That doesn't mean it's my perspective. It means that I'm processing it through the lens of a different perspective. But again, that's why this conversation is so ridiculous at times, is because just like what I'm interpreting just now, just me processing a different perspective is somehow become my perspective. But I saw earlier that, what did they say? Something about how just this conversation about quarterbacks is like, it's one of the things that like we have to talk about because we don't know, and it's an ongoing thing. But I'm in the same boat as you guys, like, or a lot of you guys. It's like this conversation about the quarterbacks is almost borderline just frustrating at this point. It just is, because like, again, regardless of if you like Trey, you like Brock, you like Sam, or you like the San Francisco 49ers, and could care less who the quarterback is, as long as the quarterback is going to put the 49ers in a position to win, it's pretty exhausting. It's pretty dang exhausting at this point, because at the end of the day, all we're trying to make sense of is what the expectations are heading into training camp, and it's been a moving target. It's been a moving target with Brock's health. It's been a moving target with Trey's ability to get back. And it's been a moving target with what Sam Darnold is going to be. So as a result, we're going to talk about it, but it's okay to get out of your feelings when talking about this topic. Like, we don't have to be so emotional about like, well, he said this or he said that. This means this means that. It's just like, bro, we don't know. We don't know. And it's okay not to know. But what we are starting to find out is, guess what? 49ers like Brock Purdy. Guess what? 49ers also like Sam Darnold. Guess what? We don't know if they like Trey Lance. They say they do, but I don't know. We don't know. And so we're going to try to see what's gonna happen moving forward. That's why the constant infighting about this topic is, I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. I feel like it's just like I see everyone like yelling at each other in the chat, and it's like, all right, I don't even want to talk about this anymore. Like, the point about talking about it wasn't to like get Team Trey versus Team Brock versus Team Sam. Like, bro, who cares? Like, which guy you like at the end of the day? Because from my understanding, you guys are 49er fans, And I would assume you want the 49ers to win. And so far, it does appear that the 49ers have not a perfect track record, but they have a pretty good track record of making some decisions. Now, you can definitely question that at quarterback, because that's why we're still talking about the quarterback this far into it. But that's just where we stand. It's life of a 49er fan. Enjoy it. Embrace it. Embrace the quarterback chaos. Just relax. Just relax. What's the point? What's the point of just like screaming at each other, saying the same things over and over again? You're not going to change that person's mind, and that person's not going to change your mind. So agree to disagree and move on. Just agree to disagree and move on. I agree with this 100%. A cordial debate, questions, or shared of opinions isn't a fight or a problem. I agree 100%. But that doesn't represent the discourse around the quarterback. And you know that, EMA. You know that better than anyone. So it is what it is. And we have to find our way to, navigate through those waters. It's just how we roll. It's the way of the world right now. So again, everyone has their opinions, everyone has their thoughts. All today was trying to make sense of what these other people's thoughts were, and what the scenario is. So let me ask you guys this question. Does the quarterback either hierarchy, meaning first, second, third string, does that impact your fandom? Because I would assume that I'm talking to 49ers fans. So depending on what happens with Brock, what happens with Trey, what happens with Sam, does that impact your fandom? Or at the end of the day, are you still going to call yourself a 49ers fan? If they say, listen, Trey isn't it, and he is not the future of our franchise, are you turning in your fan card? Are we clipping it and saying thank you for your services, go enjoy the Raiders? Like, is that where we're at? Because that's where it feels like with the discourse around this. It feels like people are more fans. They talk about it fanatically of the quarterback. And it's like, well, okay, you guys know me. I literally have done full shows on Brian Burns, who's a Carolina Panther, because I like Brian Burns. He's one of my favorite players. You're not talking to someone who's above reproach. Like I can quantify why you might like a player, but to the point where it's just like getting so much in the way, I can't even have a conversation about it. Just feels like we're heading down the wrong the wrong path. Hey, let's go, Jay. Jay says, I respect the Brian Burns topics. Just to spite all of you and all your arguing about the quarterback, I'm just going to turn this into a Brian Burns show. Good luck. The real Carolina guy says, we could have much bigger problems. Facts. We could have much bigger problems. We could not have one of the best rosters in the NFL. We could have quarterback problems and be one of the worst teams in the NFL. Could you imagine that? Just put yourself, like, again, one of the things that helps save your mental health is, gratitude, being thankful for the things that you have versus focusing on what you don't have. And I get it. The 49ers don't have a solidified plan at quarterback right now. They have a makeshift plan at quarterback, but can we be grateful that we aren't talking about Caleb Williams? I think that's a good thing. And listen, I think Caleb Williams is going to be a phenomenal quarterback. And whichever quarterback he gets drafted to, when him going number 1 overall, they're getting a guy, right? They're getting a guy that could rebound their organization. But we're not talking about that. We're talking about this team, Super Bowl or bust. That's where we're at. Super Bowl or bust with quarterback problems. Joey hit it right on the head. I'm so thankful we aren't the Cardinals. Facts. Thank goodness. Thank goodness that we aren't the Cardinals. Jay says, I would love Caleb Williams. So would I. But the 49ers would, even if they were bad, right? Even if they were bad, the 49ers would somehow find a way to be second overall in the draft. So the whole time we're celebrating tank for Caleb, they would win the last game of the year with backups, and they would lose their draft positioning, and they would lose out on Caleb, just like the Texans lost out on Bryce. Thankfully, they got CJ Stroud, and I think CJ Stroud's going to be a good quarterback. So it was a good consolation prize. But again, that's to me where the 49ers luck would be that they would be terrible all year. We would get ourselves excited about Caleb, and then we'd win the last game, somehow flipping our draft order, and then that's what problems are made of. That's what problems are made of. The fact that the Cardinals probably aren't going to be moving forward to, a whole lot with Kyler Murray, I don't think. I think that is a good thing to look at. I'm grateful that the 49ers are in a good spot right now. And I know because of the quarterback, it makes us feel like when we talk about the quarterback that the 49ers aren't in a good spot. Guys, take a deep breath. Take a deep breath. I know you might not like how this Trey Lance situation has been managed. I know you might not like Sam Darnold. Hell, you might not even like Brock Purdy. But you like the 49ers. And if you like the 49ers are built to win right now, even with makeshift bubblegum as their quarterback. We are, one of my things of why I wanted Brian Burns on the San Francisco 49ers is because if you had Nick Bosa and Brian Burns, what do I always say? A potato could be the quarterback. Do you know what the 49ers did? Do you know what they did? They didn't get me Brian Burns. But you know who they got? They got Javon Hargrave. Want to know why? Because with a defensive line like that, with the best linebacking core in the NFL, with arrow pointing up defensive backs, guess who could be the quarterback? And the 49ers could go pretty far. A potato. So we have a roster where a potato could probably take them to the Super Bowl. So just be happy. Whether it's Brock, whether it's Sam, or whether it's Trey. All three of them, if any one of them was the starter, could probably lead this team to a Super Bowl. Or quarterback 4, aka Potato. Potato for quarterback 4, Super Bowl. That's where we're at. Again, we don't have to get so hypersensitive about the quarterback position. I'm open to have discussion, open to have debate, open to have a differencing of opinions, but is that what's happening? I don't think so. And when you start feeling like, oh, this quarterback situation, like it's driving me crazy, la da 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 da, I get it. I'm right there with you. But just remember, this roster right now, a freaking potato could lead them to the Super Bowl. So if it's Trey Lance, if it's Sam Darnold, if it's Brock Purdy, that means we have a really good shot of going far. So I'm excited about that. Listen, would you buy the Potatoes jersey? The real Carolina would. I'll buy a potato jersey. I would buy a potato jersey for sure. Oh my gosh. I love it. We're not even to an hour yet and we're already off the rails. I'm gonna start a new campaign, Potato for quarterback 1. We're gonna get it trending on Twitter. We're gonna make some merch. Potato for quarterback 1. You know, tired Trey versus Sam versus Brock. Wired Potato quarterback 1. That's where we're going. Justin said Brandon Potato. we are starting the hype train for Potato as quarterback 1, just to counter all the talk. That's where we're at. We're just gonna go counter opposite of all this Trey, Sam, Brock stuff, and it's Potato Gang. It's hey, fits right in with the gluten gang. It's Potato Gang, baby. Oh man. Oh man. So good. Better copyright that. Potato quarterback 1. Hey man. Again, I think it just gets lost in the conversation. It gets lost of just how good this roster is, how just hyped we get and hyper fixated we get on the quarterback conversation. And the reason why, I'm talking about it is because of the hyper focus. If there wasn't this hyper focus, then we would be talking about other things. So let's be hyper focused on Potato quarterback 1. Now we're getting to the real hard hitting questions, but like a loaded potato or just a normal potato? That's a good question. Does the potato have all the fixings? Because if we're talking about a souped up potato, like, are we talking about a potato that would be drafted number 1 overall? Or are we talking about the potato that's being drafted as Mr. Irrelevant? What kind of potato is going all the way? That's a tough one. That's a tough one. I mean, you want the loaded, right? The loaded is what, it has the best likely outcome of going all the way. But we've seen instances before where Mr. Irrelevant potatoes have got thrown into the fryer and taken down all the other potatoes, even the goat potato. We've seen that happen before. So if the irrelevant potato takes down the goat potato in his first career start, how do we quantify that potato? Is it good? Is it bad? Maybe it's sprouting a little bit. Maybe that Mr. Irrelevant potato was a little bit more loaded than we knew. It's a good question, though. It's a good question. I'm starting to get hungry, which is I don't know if that's a good or a bad thing. Where does mashed potatoes come in? Are mashed potatoes doing anything? I mean, mashed potatoes might be the goated version of what potatoes could be, but where do they rank? Oh, see, now these are the types of quarterback conversations I am here for. Like, I see people dropping off. Thank you for joining. This is where we thrive. We thrive comparing quarterbacks to potatoes. We are 100% off the rails, and we are diving in head first because we're so tired of the serious quarterback talk because everyone gets so in their feels about it that we've just officially we're now talking potato for quarterbacks. Josh Norman is mashed. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh. This is kind of getting funny. Right behind potato salad gang. Oh my gosh. Yeah, but what about sweet potatoes? Now this is my type. This is my type of 49ers quarterback conversation right here. I'm at home. I feel relaxed. I feel at peace. I feel much better. And what a perfect way to really cap really just dynamic conversation about the quarterback. I think in summary though, damn, he said Jimmy's a sweet potato. I actually don't think you're wrong there. I actually think sweet potato might have to be Jimmy. I mean, I think you might have nailed that one. I think Jimmy's a sweet potato. This is quality content, all right? Screw all the other content. This is quality content. This is fantastic. Can we dink and dunk some potatoes and some sauce? 100%. 100%. Better have the sauce. Better. I'm here for the dinking and dunking and the sauces all day. All day. Give me some Chick-fil-A sauce. Ooh, that Polynesian. The sauce combo, if we're talking about dinking and dunking and sauces, Polynesian sauce and Chick-fil-A sauce combined, chef's kiss. If we had a potato with a side of Polynesian sauce and Chick-fil-A sauce, Super Bowl confirmed. Confirmed to the ship. That's it. We made it. We found the gold standard. He said Sam Darnold is a red potato. Sam is a red potato. I mean, of course, he's a ginger. Oh my gosh. Man, shout out to you guys, bro. You saved us. We were heading down a dark path there for a second. We were headed down a dark quarterback path, and my God, we saved it. Shout out to the SDS. Shout out to the Gluten Gang. I'm so thankful for you all. I was starting to get some real anxiety about talking about this quarterback situation. Y'all saved me with the potato comps. This is fantastic. Shout out to potatoes, 100%. Shout out to the potatoes. The real movers and shakers behind the 49ers quarterback conversation is the potatoes. Potato squad. Bro, you know what's really just gonna throw people for a loop is, you'll just see these random like arguments on Twitter about about the quarterback position. You just start dropping potato gifs, potato emojis. They're just like, what? Just start dropping loaded baked potato pictures. Quarterback one, hashtag QB1. And people, they're just gonna be like, what's happening here? And the real ones will know. The real ones will know exactly what's happening. It's potato gang. Dang, that is a real shot at In-N-Out fries. That's how I'm taking it. That's how I'm taking that. In-N-Out, hey, because I'm assuming that's not in favor of Brandon Allen being a good. That's a shot. That is 100% a shot at Brandon Allen and In-N-Out catching strays for no reason. My goodness. My goodness. Brock is a hot potato. Oh my goodness. I like the red potato for Sam Darnold. I like the sweet potato for Jimmy Garoppolo. What would Brock be? Would Brock be the loaded baked potato? Someone said tater tots for Trey Lance. Dude, that is borderline disrespectful. That is borderline disrespectful. What, could you imagine some random Twitter beef about the 49ers quarterback, and they're like going back and forth with jabs, and then they're just like, yeah, well, Trey Lance is tater tots. Oh my gosh. We are one day closer to training camp. I promise you. We're one day closer to training camp. That's all we got to think about is we're one day closer. We're one day beyond more quarterback conversation. We're getting there. One step at a time, one foot in front of the other, one potato in front of the next. We are getting closer to training camp. And then we can actually argue about like real things, about like actual play on the field. I like those arguments better. Those are more fun to me. This is peak off-season conversation, 100%. Absolutely. But I'm glad. I appreciate all the SDS for entertaining it. Really like where this turn. This was a good turn. We were taking a bad turn there. We were taking a pretty dark turn, but we survived. Dude, Justin's on point. Justin knows his potatoes. My boy has been scouting potatoes from the jump. My guy knows his potatoes. Dang, Josh Johnson is hash brown, so he's shredded potato. He's shredded. Trey is scalloped potatoes. Scalloped potatoes are the ones with like all the cheese and the cream. Like that's not bad though. I mess around and eat a whole plate of some scalloped potatoes. Like those are the ones, right, where you like you cut them in like the circle slices and like you got the cheese and the cream. I take down some scalloped potatoes for show. For show. I'm glad you're enjoying it. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Dang, yeah, if done right, scalloped potatoes could last a season. What other potatoes are we missing? So confirmed, a potato is winning the Super Bowl for the 49ers. We just don't know which one it is. Is it a red potato? Is it a Yukon Gold potato? Is it hash browns? Is it French fries or tater tots? That's the question. That's the real debate. That is the real debate. Which potato? Which potato is it going to be? But man, we could keep going on the potatoes for a while, but I'm going to stop. I think I'm going to stop us right in this good spot. He said Zach Wilson baby potatoes. Like the Justin's in his potato bag today. For sure. Absolutely. Okay, well, let's end it on this poll. Let's see if you guys have been paying attention. Which potato is going to be starting for the San Francisco 49ers in 2023? Drop it in the chat. I'm pulling you guys to see how much you're paying attention. Which potato is getting the start for the 49ers week 1? Because at the end of the day, right, a potato can lead this team to a Super Bowl and get it done. So which potato is it going to be? If we all just viewed them as potatoes and just understanding that, hey, all have an opportunity to lead this team to the Super Bowl, like, why are we fighting? Because that's the ultimate goal, is it not? Is it not? Sweet potatoes is Jimmy Garoppolo. Sweet potatoes is Jimmy Garoppolo. If one of you guys does actually get a potato, please post it to Twitter and tag me in it, because I think that would be hilarious. If one of you really goes out and either gets a loaded potato or makes one or makes some potato dish for some reason being spawned off this conversation, please tag me on Twitter and post a picture. I will laugh my behind off, and I need a laugh today. That would be fantastic. But again, another just quality live. I appreciate the SDS, man. You guys really rallied here at the end. Started off in a really dark hole, and we were saved by the potatoes, just like the San Francisco 49ers are going to be saved in 2023. That's why all these argue, like, we're just trying to talk about what's being discussed, but what is known at the end of the day is that whichever potato it's going to be, the 49ers are going to be in a good spot. I think. I really do. I think there are pros and cons to all three quarterbacks' games. They all fit differently, but all good at the end of the day. And this team has been built to allow a potato to take them far. So, shout out the Potato Gang. We got another inside joke. That's a good one though. The potato has been an inside joke for a while, but I think we just took it to new heights today. So shout out the Potato Gang. I had a blast. Instead of grabbing cookies on the way out, grab your potatoes. So we have an assortment of potatoes for you guys contributing to this conversation, for really getting this back into the good vibes. Grab a potato on your way out. We've got Yukon Gold. We've got red. We've got some tater tots. We got hash browns, whatever you need. Loaded potatoes. Grab a potato on your way out. Thank you for vibing with the stream. Some of you guys' comments are absolutely wild, and I refuse to read them, even though I will laugh at them. He dropped a sweet potato. Drop your potatoes in the chat. Shout out to SDS, man. I'm out of here for now. What a legendary stream. Y'all are the best. I'm out of here. Peace. Smash that like button if you haven't already. Love to see it.